Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my DevilNeverCry 5, Dante Must Die, S-Rank walkthrough. This is the second mission of the game. It's called the Qliphoth, and this is my favourite mission in the game because of the environments. I think the places that you go in this particular mission are by far the finest. They've got a really good eye for colour and architecture, and I really enjoy this portion of the game. I haven't really had a chance to talk about the breaker arms, which I think are going to be really important. And I'm going to try my best not to use the most powerful ones all the time, because I want to tell you which ones you should use, and then you can just implement them into your game. But if I rely on them, it forces you to rely on them too, and if I can avoid that, it will obviously be better. So the obvious one, of course, is the Buster Breaker, the breaker that emulates Nero's arm before he gets it back. This move enables you to grab, and the grabs are very powerful. The grabs with the hand, rather than the one that you inherit at the end, do twice the damage of the traditional breaker grab. And when you charge it up, going to Devil Trigger and release it, you will do some of the most damage that you can do with Nero in one fell swoop. That means if there's an enemy that you particularly don't like, or an encounter where one of those threatening opponents is in it, you can just focus on them and get rid of them. It will get rid of Furies, it will get rid of Nilo Angelo guys, it will get rid of a whole host of bad dudes, and it's not that difficult to use. The only drawback is having to charge it, and charging circle while you do other things can be a little bit awkward on the hands. The second really obvious one that's very powerful, and I recommend you exploit it, is Ragtime. Ragtime, when you break it, slows the entire room for like 10 seconds. It's a very large period of slow motion, and you can use this to wail on whatever the hell is alive. You can build style, you can kill the dude you don't like, you can hit the boss when he's vulnerable. You can do so much with this particular hand that it would be foolish really not to use it. I'm going to use it on mission 8, and outside of that you're probably not going to see too much of it. I might use it in mission 7 to give you some ideas. But fundamentally, if there's ever a fight where you don't like it and you find it to be too intimidating and too overwhelming, Ragtime is your equalizer. A great example is the nests. You know, in the nests that spawn enemies, they usually spawn the lizards, and the lizards are a nightmare on Dante Must Die. Run up to one of those nests before it starts spawning, activate Ragtime, freeze it, and then kill it before it spawns an enemy. It'll skip a fight and you'll lose stylish points, but if you can make them up somewhere else, you can fight an enemy you're more comfortable with rather than an enemy that you fear. All of these will work great. Some of the ones you might not have thought of that are really good to use for particularly style points that are free are things like Overture, things like Helter Skelter, and things like Gerbera. So Overture, if you don't know, when you break this weapon, Nero will grab them and plant a bomb on them. You can plant up to 3 bombs at a time, and the bomb will gradually tick down and detonate it. But if you shoot the enemy that has it on it, it'll blow up, and it can do like a chain reaction with other enemies. So if you stab a guy with your hand and you stick that bomb on him, and then you knock him into his buddies, and there's 3 of them, when that explodes when you shoot it, you're going to hit all of them for the same damage, and your stylish rating is going to go through the ceiling. It can be really good. It can also just be good for, like, sticking an enemy with it, ignoring him, and going to fight something else, and then serendipitously, he blows up and ends up setting up something exciting, something cool, and something damaging. Gerbera's the same way. Charge Gerbera, jump into the air, let it go, and then let the lasers bounce around. If you fight in a room that has a low ceiling and that's quite claustrophobic, Gerbera is going to do all the work you could ever need. Not only will it keep the enemies in the air, constantly hitting them, constantly building style, constantly doing damage, but then you can double up on them and you can proceed to damage them while this is happening. And while all of this is happening, you can be charging another Gerbera, and you can stack this for really easy points. And then Helter Skelter's kind of the same thing. Beat up a bunch of dudes, it gets a bit crowded, it gets a bit too intimidated, release the charge on that bad boy, and you'll swoop through them and just bring them all with you, doing tons of damage and tons of style. It's really effective for crowd control and generally just getting you out of a bad spot. And speaking about bad spots, you're going to witness one here. So right now, I didn't want to do this. Never, ever grab on the ground. I tell you this as a player who has been punished several times for doing it. When you grab on the ground, you are completely vulnerable, and there's nothing you can do to get out of it. When you grab in the air, you are not. Always grab in the air, guys. Only grab on the ground when you are confident no one is on camera, or no one is close enough to interfere. If it's a 1v1, you're fine. That right there was unfortunate damage. I'd love to make several excuses and tell you why it shouldn't happen, but the answer is simple. Because of the way the camera works in this game, I was trying to do a specific move, and I ended up doing a different direction because of how the game dynamically moves. I got the wrong move is all, and I couldn't jump out of it quick enough because it's quite a recovery heavy one. Learn from my mistakes, guys. Although that particular mistake is one of those that you're going to make, it happens all the time. The amount of times that the lock-on is going to target the wrong person in this game, or the camera's going to spin and make you do the wrong move, is really, really high. And you might not notice it just playing casually, but as you start to do these S ranks on these higher difficulties, the slightest moment of miscontrol is going to lead to just tragedy, and oftentimes it really, really does. But this level is one of my favourite levels in the game, and this fight coming up is going to be a really good example of what I was just explaining. So I'm going to stick this first guy with the arm that detonates, then I'm going to hit them all with a streak, and I should have shot my gun just then, but I actually forget to do it. So instead, I launch them into Gerbera, Gerbera starts doing its thing, and then right now, this is so chaotic and crazy, I can't even get an enemy to wail on to help build my style. But we've already got to Triple S, and this is all about banking your points. And points are really, really important, especially with Nero, because if you don't have the ability to max act consistently, building points with Nero can be very tough. One thing you won't see me use too much are the moves in Devil Trigger. There are two moves you can do with Nero when you Devil Trigger. One of them is called Showdown, the other one is called Maximum Bet. I love both of these techniques, but unfortunately, because I've mapped my controls differently, pressing square and circle while holding R1 is one of the most awkward things to do outside of assuming a completely different position with your hand. I'm a player who prides myself on my ability to be quite dexterous. I can play with claw, I can do several different things, but that is one of those that really is a bit of a mindfuck, and the only way I can do it is by holding R1 with my middle finger, using my index finger to press square, and using my thumb to press circle. And because I have to put it in such a weird clawing position, I'm not supporting the controller, so I have to press the controller against my leg, and trust me folks, you need to use these moves. They're one of the most damaging choices for Nero. You can use ragtime and go into them and get super damage with them. And I do actually use them in the run, so don't worry if you don't know what they look like and you're wondering what they are. I will be able to show them, but the first time I do it, I miss, because I was just surprised I did it. And it was one of those things like, Jesus, I managed it to come out and then it got me hit. Which is fine, I don't mind. And then the other time was against a Nilo, and I don't even know if you're going to be able to see that. Because Mission 8 is very challenging for getting style points. And I'm probably going to talk about that quite a lot in that mission. Because one of the things you need to be aware of in this game, guys, is that when you fight a battle, whatever your stylish rating is at the end, is the stylish rating you carry into the next fight. The next fight seems to be judged on the same parameters as the last one, and if you get a lower score in that fight than you did in the beginning fight, it will damage your overall style. And the final grade at the end seems to be an average of all of your fights. So if you do a fight against 20 people in a room and you get 7,000 stylish points, and then you fight two twats in a tunnel and get 3,000, you're just going to hurt yourself. And it leads to avoiding fights and getting in trouble. Like this fight just now, you can completely skip this fight if you jump across the gap. I didn't want to do it because I want to fight these Antonoras because they're really, really useful. Learning how to fight this enemy is going to save you some time. That was a mistake, by the way. I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to do it in mid-air, but I did it wrong. But we're using Punchline. Punchline is a really, really fun tool that I don't really get a chance to show off too much. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't use it, because it's just wonderfully fun. You can do some really silly things with it. But did you see him glowing then, all purple? That's because he's in his armoured frames. However, you'll also notice that he's got a handy little aura on him right now. If you've never played Dante Must Die mode, you probably don't understand what this means. But right now, that aura he has, that purple unfurling aura of dark flames, that means he's in his Devil Trigger. Devil Triggered enemies are unique to this difficulty, you'll see them absolutely nowhere else. And what it means is, he's more aggressive, he does more damage, and he has a 50% extra defense boost. So when you hit him, you are going to do half the damage you do normally, regardless of what you hit him with. And I cannot begin to tell you just how much of a modifier that is. You'll see that coming up on the fight against Goliath. Goliath is a boss that I really do not know how to fight. I'm terrible at this fight, and you're going to see a very messy encounter. However, if I can do this all messy-like, then you can do it too. And hopefully it should be able to show that you don't have to be the best player in the world, and you don't have to play amazingly all the time. But the idea of this boss is kind of simple. He's like a bootleg Beowulf. He's got big looping swings, they're very slow, he's got a handful of different ones to get you off him, and then to attack you when you're in front of him. And traditionally, if you're using Gerbera, which I believe is probably the best tool for this job, you can kind of jump cancel on the top of him, and then use Gerbera and air taunts to stay high so that he can't hit you, and then once he finishes his attack you can go back into a bunch of your own, and then you just repeat from there. You just kind of wail on him a bit, when he does something you try and move. I'm going to get hit by this, by the way. Look at that. I did not think that he was anywhere near me when that was happening, but the game was like, yo dog, depth perception is difficult in your old man brain, and there it was, large amounts of damage. But right now, when he's swinging the pillar, is a really good opportunity to do a lot of damage on him. And something that's cool about Devil Trigger, if you don't know, is that it negates a lot of knockback. So there are times when, traditionally when you get hit in this game, you just get knocked away. But when you Devil Trigger, you can stay closer and do a lot of damage. And we get a stun on him, so right now, if I break my arms and get to this one, I can do the most damaging move in the game to this guy, but I didn't Devil Trigger because I didn't have enough. But the damage right now is pretty much the most you can do. Did you see that big chunk? And you might be thinking, well, Chris, that looks like the damage that a normal combo would do in the other games, and it probably would, because those games had considerably better bosses than this one does. The bosses in this game are, oh, you've played MMOs before, let's give it all the health and make it fucking boring. So that's about as much damage as you're gonna get. There's no distorted real impacts taking off half HP anymore, which I really miss because, let's face it guys, as much as I suck at Goliath, this boss couldn't be any simpler, could he? He's got like 4 swings, he stands there like a twat, they're all really slow, he jumps about a bit, he fires a fireball, and then every so often he gets a grand case of turbulence coming out of his tummy. Like, this is not rocket science. But he has so much HP that you're fighting him for long enough to get hit by every move he's got, which is the greatest weakness of these games. The benefit to this though is Devil Triggering now, so my damage is going to go into the toilet. This is an AoE, get away from this move. The one grace about enemies taking a preposterous amount of damage is that you're able to build a lot more style points than you normally would. If you've played human mode and gone for S ranks, you probably noticed that you just couldn't get enough style points because they weren't alive long enough. They died too quickly. You will never have that issue outside of the Impulses on this game, because Dante Must Die's modifier in this game is particularly fierce. It is very reminiscent of the third game, and if you've played that game, you'll know just how difficult that game is. And this game is nowhere near as difficult as that game in my opinion, but it has all of the worst parts of Devil May Cry 3's Dante Must Die mode, and I think that that's really unfortunate, because the Nero saga of DMC games, to me, started with 4 of course, and 4 did Dante Must Die really elegantly. I never had problems with style points on that difficulty. I never had problem with bosses on that difficulty. Everything flowed, everything was fluid, everything was fun. In this game, I can carry a triple S rating through every fight in a mission, feel like I'm on fire doing really well, and then I'll get a fucking A rank at the end of the level. That would never happen in Devil May Cry 4. It wouldn't happen. And admittedly, I'm rusty in this series, I've not played it in a long time. But even then, like, even as I am rusty as shit and trying to get back on the horse, I'm still better than like 90% of what you should need to fucking do to get these ranks. And I know the irony of saying that during this fight, which is easily my worst performance so far. But guess what, folks? That fight was shit. I'll concede that. But the next time you see it, it's going to go a lot differently, because I'm going to be playing this game for a long time, and I love this game. But it has some problems. But you know what one of those problems ain't? Getting an S rank on that mission. There you go, guys. Nearly 8,000 points. You can do it if I can do it. Good luck, Godspeed, and you take care now.